This is Michael Clara. Welcome to my blog, Local School Districts Can Make a Difference. The title of this PowerPoint presentation that I'll be narrating is part one and it's called Race to the Middle, which you see the subtitle there is Race to the Top. I'm going to be talking about the grant application process that the Salt Lake City School District has gone through, or at least what I have witnessed since my first year on the school board. Last year, and this is kind of an elaboration I posted a YouTube video of a September 2012 school board meeting and received a lot of questions about it and people wanting to know some more details. So this is kind of just giving some background as to how that meeting and some of the issues came about in that September 2013 meeting. So anyways, what happened was back in June of last year, we had a school board meeting and they were going to talk about, as you can see here on the agenda, the 2012-2013 summary of accomplishments. And at the board meeting, they passed out this document that's called the Key Accomplishments. And on it, you see here that one of the accomplishments for the assessment and evaluation department was provided data and technical support for the Race to the Top grant. Now, this was the Race to the Top grant that the district applied for in 2012. I was not on the school board then. I got on the school board in January of 2013, but never heard anything about the previous grant in 2012. At least nothing in the school board meetings was discussed right when I got on the board last year. And so at any rate, here's the meeting that we had on June 18th about that topic.
It's easier to add even more of them.
Chrissy, I have a question.
Go ahead.
On this list here, it says it provided data and technical support for Race to the Top grant. Did we get that grant?
We didn't. There were over 1,000 applicants, and we made the first cut, which took it down to about 60 in the top round. We did not get the grant in the end, nor did any other district in Utah. We know where we scored lower on the points and where we scored higher. We may have an opportunity to submit in a second round now with this additional information. So we had a very strong grant that we prepared. We have a lot of the capabilities that they require, which is that our data is integrated and that we're tracking our data, that we're making our decisions using good data. And so we'll keep going on those fronts and then strengthen the parts where we didn't score as high, we hope, and submit it in another round.
And why is it listed as an accomplishment if we didn't get the grant?
Actually, it was really quite a lot of work just to pull all the pieces together from kind of some disparate areas and connect it.
Yeah. What is the accomplishment to get from over 1,000 down to 60?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Not an accomplishment.
That's a huge
right.
accomplishment.
And we learned a lot in doing that and in pulling the data together. We also, between all of our departments, learned some areas where we can work better together, where we can, leverage what we are doing well to extend what we're able to do for students, get a little better view of personalization of learning for students and some other ways to help students get all the way through school more successfully.
That national attention we received, I think, helped us get the grant that Barb's working on in math. Yeah. It got us some other connections with other grants, but I think it was, if not this past Friday, the Friday before that, I sent you in your weekly board memorandum a link to the business review document that Pam Perlich does. Mm-hmm. The last page of that document shows where we lost points because community data was missing, not district data. And so that's part of the reason for being connected with the Community Data Project is that other states and municipalities do a much better job of having data that then is complementary. But she did a very nice job in reporting that.
You're saying we lost points in trying to get the Race to the Top grant because of community data? Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Janet, are you doing business and auxiliary? Did I hear you say that? I am.
So what Mikhail Withers was referring to was the weekly memorandum that he sends out, and on June 7th prior to this meeting, on number 3, it was Utah Economic and Business Review, and so what he's referring to here is, and he sent this out to us again the week before. It's the Economic Business Review, and what it talks about is, as you see here, community data for policy planning and community investment, Salt Lake City case studies, and one of the articles talks about the application of application of community level data, Salt Lake City school case study. But here you see that it says about 1/3, 35% of the overall point deductions were for data related reasons. And then they have a pretty neat illustration and graph here that I will go into more detail in another blog entry. But as you can see, it kind of gives you what the breakdown was of where they felt in this particular analysis where we lost points, and why we didn't get the grant in 2012. Following that school board meeting, I sent an email to Christine Marriott, who was giving the presentation, and asked if she could please send me a copy of the data that they were calling as an accomplishment for 2012 that they used in the grant application process. And as you see here, she said that she would have to send the request to Mikhail, and that he would decide what pieces he recommends that I get, and that the application was over 300 pages long. Me and Mikhail exchanged some emails, and as you can see here, he says that they're in the process of printing copies after 4 or 5 email exchanges between he and I. Then the following day, on June 28th, I get the the application on the left, which is 300 pages long, and also on the back, at the end of it, was a 30 or 40 page document that's titled "Race to the Top District Technical Review Form." And whenever I asked for information, and remember at this time I'd been on the board like 6 months, whenever I asked for information, they send it out to everybody. And so everybody on the school board received this data either electronically or hard copy. What I discovered in reading the Race to the Top Technical Review, which is the evaluator's determination, and I highlighted some of the things too, and I have the full document on my blog, but these are the things that were concerning to me as I'm reading this report, that in 2012 we lost out on this Race to the Top grant, and as you can see, again, it's difficult to determine how ambitious these goals are in absence of description of process used to set them. It was just strange to me that our school district lost out on this Race to the Top grant for these types of issues. I'm reading on the very bottom in yellow. However, the district does not provide information regarding site-specific campuses. Overall, the district has demonstrated partial evidence of a high-level transparency in local education agency processes, practice, and investments. It's like these are just basic things that we should already be doing, and it's just odd to me that we are rejected from receiving a federal grant because we don't have these things in place already. Bottom line again, since the district has not provided critical information, the response for this category is insufficient. And you see on the top it says their performance measures. You can get a total of 5 points. So in 2012, out of 5 points, we received 2 points. So, here we are now moving along in 2013, and now at the September 17, 2013 meeting, this is what took place. And understand, I've read the review from June, and the evaluator's review is what I referred to in this meeting. And it's just odd to me that everybody acts like they don't know what I'm talking about. Mikhail and Christy, who's our board president, admit that they know what I'm talking about after playing dumb for a second, but they concede that they do know what I'm talking about. So I'm not sure. Anyways, let's just go on, and this is the document that Mikhail passed out at the September meeting. it's just saying that we're requesting $20 million is what the grant is for. And you see up here that it's for Riley, Mountain View, Edison, and Parkview. Those are all schools in my district, which is District 2. Glendale is in my district. Bryant is not, but a number of students from my area go to Bryant. Clayton, Lincoln, and Clayton is not a Title I school, so I don't know why they were on this. And then Lincoln, Binion, Whittier, in Washington. And then you have East High here. And one of the evaluators will question why East High is on here as opposed to West High. And so anyways, that's the outline that he passed out. And then we'll go into the meeting. And this was a PowerPoint presentation that's already been posted that a number of people were asking some more details for. And that's what this blog entry is about. One of my concerns about this is, when I looked at and I meant to ask if we could all get copies of this, but I don't remember who sent this to me, but when you look at the technical review from the last one that we got, it seemed to me there was a lot of stuff missing that the evaluators are saying that the district didn't put in there. Stuff like, goals were not in there, that there was a lot of evidence was not in there. And I'm just, are those things correct? I mean, are we aware of that, or are the people who are doing this grant, are they aware that what was missing?
In terms of the points, the data that was missing was community data, not district data.
That's not accurate.
That's absolutely accurate, and it was analyzed externally, and there was an actual summary of that got printed by the University of Utah in the Economic and Business Review.
Well, can you send us a copy, send everybody a copy of this, the Race to the Top technical review form? There was 3 evaluators, and it looks to me that a lot of district data was missing.
What were you
So
talking
you're
about?
talking about the proposal a year ago that was evaluated, and the district received feedback on a year ago. I don't know how that's relevant to this discussion, but I'd be happy to send it to you.
Well, it's relevant if we make the same mistakes again and we don't get awarded.
Well, I think that, I think that what I would say is, from what I've been hearing, is they use what was, the feedback that they got from the last one. Obviously, they'll be putting it into this one. The Race to the Top is always really difficult. There's no Utah schools that have ever received it, but I think we're getting better at it. So what I would say is that, yes, they're using that information.
But that's not what he just said. That's what concerns me.
No, I heard him say that.
Okay, I thought I heard him say it had nothing to do with district data, it was community data that was missing.
Well, from the last
On the points,
one.
on the points from the last round.
Points from the last one. But that information absolutely would be used.
But then before we have this discussion, if we need to have the discussion, let's have it. But let's make sure that everybody has the same
Right,
information.
that's right.
I'm not really sure what you're...
Send that to the board then, and we can look at
But
it.
I want you to just think about the kinds of questions you're asking. So let's wait until, if you really want to have this discussion, if it's important to you to rehash something a year ago, that we actually got to the final round. It's not like we were thrown out.
Yeah.
We can certainly have that discussion, either in a small group with the superintendent, or the whole board can have it. But it seems to me that it might be better to move forward with this grant rather than us worrying about feedback that's already been delivered. If you have a specific question about what data is missing, let's make an appointment, sit down with the superintendent, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Because I'm just hearing different things, and it concerns me if we're going to repeat the same mistakes, and we won't be awarded the grant again.
Did you hear, though, that I explained that it's graded differently? So your comparison with last year is irrelevant?
Is that...
I don't think it's irrelevant. That's why probably we need to talk. If you think it's irrelevant.
All right.
And that would be good to...
Let's arrange that. And let's get somebody in the room, Michael, who actually knows a lot about the grant process, the writing of it, the way...
Yeah, I'm just reading the review. I don't know.
Right, you're just reading the review, and you may or may not be making the intelligent
As a
conclusions.
policymaker, that's why I'm asking the question.
Okay.
This is a repeating pattern, though, that we should decide as a board how to handle. When a member has this document in front of them that no one else has and throws out an unexpected question, it might be good, instead of what just happened, to say, that's a great question, we'll get a copy of that document, because it is a little silly talking about a document that's in front of you that no one else has seen, and it's happened before. That does take up time. So at some point, we should have a procedure for when someone has a document, no one else is discussing information that none of us have. At some point, we have to have a pat answer that, oh, well, that's a good question. We'll distribute that document, or if it's a single-page document, you could run in the back and make photocopies. But this is a continuing problem for the board.
But I do think it should be relevant to what is current. And so if there is something, and I agree with you, we need to all have the same information. If it's relevant to what we're talking about, then that's true. Okay. Yes,
May I make a suggestion really quickly?
Yes.
If there are documents that someone wants to discuss, I don't see why that person, that board member or whomever, can't come early to the meeting and get copies made for the rest of us.
right.
Or distribute it through an email to
Right.
the rest of us,
Right.
so we have time to review it before the meeting. And I think that would just be a nice courtesy.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Otherwise, it's hard to know how we could actually answer the question or discuss it if none of us are privy to the information. I just would like us to have some procedure for when this happens over and over.
Our team will give it its best effort. To be a finalist last year was
It was
unique
pretty
and
unique
unexpected.
and unexpected.
It opened additional doors for us. It brought funding to the district. We hope to get awarded the grant. The next item is just a heads up on the manner in which the governor is conducting his education summit this year. He's calling it essentially a statewide.
So you see, my biggest concern is, as you notice, the majority of those schools are in my district. And so I owe it to my neighbors to ask questions, but you can see verbally and in the body language, the superintendent is dismissive of what my concerns are. And that's my representative voice. That's what my neighbors elected me to do. I'm not sure what the, and then the majority of the board there you see is complicit in just being dismissive of what my questions were. Then here's the minutes of the meeting, and you see they talk in the minutes reflect that race to the top. And then it says that during the discussion, it was again requested that if board members will be referencing documents, that copies be provided to the entire board, which is so the part that I said was totally left out. The questions that I had about the grant proposal and the commitment that we were going to have a meeting about this, none of that shows up in the minutes. But this just stupidity of this whole issue that they get fixated on these documents is just bizarre. And as I pointed out at the beginning, this was sent out at my request to everybody received it on June 28, 2013, and then they play dumb during the entire meeting and spend or during the entire balance of that conversation. What they ended up doing, sadly enough, is that they, again, just fixated on this documentation thing, and it's all designed to protect the superintendent. We ended up spending multiple meetings after that September meeting discussing this ridiculous policy in the school board that would say that at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting, we have to bring in copies of stuff or give them to the superintendent for his approval so he can assess, their validity. So that's unfortunately the stupidity that we're dealing with, and why, we're in the situation that we're in with our kids, because that's the face of public education in Salt Lake City, Utah. Thank you.